Hello everyone, this is Raven here, and today we have a battle replay of the Empire versus High Elves. So Boris Todbringer versus Teclis and his dreaded Dragon Princes build. So let's take a look at the field right here real quick. So we can see 4 units of Dragon Princes, 2 units of Spearmen with 3 chevrons each. On the flanks over here for the main army, 4 units of White Lines of Trace. In the back, 2 units of Archers, another 2 Dragon Princes surrounding Teclis. Pretty much the vanguard of this army really is these guys. The main front line isn't really going to do much. These guys look so beautiful. I feel so bad fighting the High Elves every single time I do it. But the main reason I'm doing this battle is because a person from the channel in the comment section was like, you know what, I really don't know how to fight the High Elves as the Empire. I really need to find a composition that'll work against them, against their ranged components, or against dragons. So this build should work against the same things that it did right here, but really I came across this build unexpectedly. I forgot that the Dragon Princes was a thing, even though I've covered this build myself using it against the Lizardmen. So we're gonna have the fight for our lives here today. As you can see, it's a 10-minute, 30-second battle, so we're gonna have a lot of stuff going down. Over here for Teclis' abilities are the Flock of Doom, Net of Ammontok, Greater Arcane Conduit, and a couple of little abilities to help with damage mitigation when casting and faster growth in the Winds of Magic for his mana pool. And then over here he's got the Potion of Cheroy, which is going to keep him nice and healthy, and then the Bound Fury Convocation, which is that little phoenix that raises up and does a little fury path across all my units. You might see that a couple times. So this is a pretty decent build. Dragon Princes are obviously very powerful, and when used like this is... There's a reason it's called the dreaded Dragon Prince build, you know? It's going to be good in competitive play or just regular ladder play like we have here today. But for me, I have 2 units of Spearmen, 300 each on the flanks, just trying to protect myself against any cavalry. While on the back over here, I have the Royal Altdwarf Gryphites, which are just, you know, regular Demigryph Knights, but with halberds, but they also cause fear and terror, so that's very good for me. These guys over here cause fear, but no terror, which is fine. I went for the regular variety without the halberds just because I needed to pinch a couple pennies. I actually wound up spending every single coin I could for this army, so very good stuff. So I have 2 units of swordsmen over here on each flank, you know, surrounding these 3 units of greatswords right here in the middle. And these greatswords are going to make up the meat of my army, because each one of these guys can outtrade White Lines of Trace or Spearmen, and then fighting Swordmasters of Hoeth, they will get outclassed pretty heavily, but supported correctly with, you know, range fire or healing or some sort of spell or a lord or something like that, they should be able to outtrade these Swordmasters and be able to punch through. So that's kind of what I'm going for, as well as I brought Swordmen just because they have that shield, and they're just kind of fodder infantry. Just kind of soak up some damage, screen the enemy, do whatever I can with them. But the real damage I was hoping to put out with this army was the crossbowmen and these handgunners, but really it's going to come from these Demigryph Knights, because I've spent 3,000 gold on these guys, so they better perform pretty heavily. So I went with these silver bullets because they do have the magic armor piercing damage, and Dragon Princes do have a resistance versus physical resistance. Resistance versus physical resistance, that's not right. They have a physical resistance, so going to be able to punch through that armor cleanly and not get too many of their missiles blocked, because they only have a bronze shield. So we'll see how they work out against that. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward just a little bit, see what we can do. And then for my lord, we have Boris Todbringer with his not Reikland Ruinfang. I forgot what the Ruinfang he has is called. It's the Midland Ruinfang, that's what it is. And they crush the weak, so -5 melee defense, melee attack, and -4 leadership for anybody within a 40-meter radius. And that's pretty big. So everybody around him is going to fight less effectively and be a little bit demoralized. And he also has deadly onslaught, because weapon damage, yes please, you know, why not? And then for my Jade Wizard right here, we have Earthblood, Life Bloom, and Regrowth for fat heals across the front line, and Regrowth for these Demigryph Knights if I ever get the chance to cast it on them. And so what I'm really doing here is I saw these guys initially down here in the swamp, so I started positioning my Demigryph Knights over here on the right side. I started positioning my Spearmen over here on this flank, just in case he had any other kind of cavalry coming in. So you can see I'm kind of forming a little bit of a wall right here that these guys can kind of turn and shoot while these guys are absorbing any kind of flanking charge. And then what he ends up doing is he starts pulling these guys back, and then eventually I'm going to see these guys in the forest. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling my army over here into the middle, so you can see like the beginning of my army is going to start right here, and then somewhere over here with my ranged units right here, and Spearmen somewhere in the trees, so I can start firing in with the trees not being able to block any of my missile units. So immediately right there, as soon as I see him and he sees me, I'm like, all right, we gotta go. We gotta get out of there. And I start pulling these Griffins over here, because I'm like, I don't see these Dragon Princes anywhere. They pulled too far back, and they're hidden over here in the forest. Look at this. I thought this was a swamp. It's just fog on the ground. Wow, very beautiful. Very deceiving. But, so yeah, this is what we're going to be doing right here. Like I said, I'm going to try and get over here and support these Spearmen with my Gryphites and my regular Demigryph Knights over here. And we're just going to kind of mosey around, kind of like waiting for the initial engagement, and then once the skirmish fire starts, I'm like, alright, every melee unit that's not a spearman is going to go into a hard group 1, and I'm going to charge them straight over here, and I start individually charging everybody just in case they start trying to move their archers behind the lines and stuff like that. And like I said, these great swords will outtrade a white line of trace one-on-one, so we'll be seeing that in the front lines. Over here, unfortunately, these Demigryphs were netted, but there's a hidden debuff of in the woods. If you're a large unit, you can't go as fast as you typically do, and I believe you take you suffer a penalty to melee defense or melee attack. I can't really be sure which one. So these guys tried to charge my Demigryph Knights, but it actually didn't go off, and then in return, they started attacking them point blank, and they have so much armor-piercing damage that these guys actually took a little bit of a beating right there, losing a couple guys and losing like 10-20% HP, so that's not very bad for me. I'm very proud of that engagement. And from here, I start doing kind of a strategic fallback towards the front line to try and use my ranged units to try and target out his archers if I can with my crossbowmen, while I try and position my spearmen to try and zone out any of his dragon princes. But what I don't see is these guys being pulled up the flank right here, and they're going to be able to charge straight into the side of my army right here, which is so separated. As you can see, all my units are just pulled apart all over the place. While these spearmen are trying to escape right here, I start firing in with my handgunners, and they start doing some pretty good work. This guy getting tagged a little bit right there. Poor guy. And another net going down, stopping these grip fights. Oh, that's so sad for me. I knew something like that was going to happen. But right here, as you can take a look, you can see that these guys actually have a bonus versus large of 13. And bonus versus large, or a bonus versus infantry, actually counts as armor-piercing damage. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of damage to these dragon princes right here, and instead of them just overwhelming my spearmen. But right here, here comes that brutal charge by these dragon princes. They're going to ride through both of my crossbow units. They're not going to stop at one. They're going to go for both. But here come my Demigryph Knights, and there's no net to save these guys now. And they're just going to flood the field with their power. That heavy AP is really going to do a lot of work for me. I go ahead and cast Earthblood, try and keep my crossbowmen up, as well as any of my Demigryphs very healthy against the initial damage that this engagement might have brought against them. Right here, I start turning around my silver bullets, trying to do some damage against these dragon princes, but they start getting into combat and have a really weird angle, so I can't really shoot over my own spearmen that well. And Techless, I try and cut him off right here initially, but I can't really do that. In the front line, the battle's going quite well in my favor. These greatswords over here were tagged initially by some range fire and aren't the healthiest right now, but Boris Todbringer and this Jade Woods are actually doing some great work in the front line. Not a whole lot of kills between the two of them, but they're staying healthy and they're keeping these guys healthy, and I'm winning this front line engagement, as you can see. But the rear charge is coming in by these dragon princes. These guys were initially rear charged over here. It was like 2 units of great swords ridden down by some dragon princes. As you can see, I only got like 2 or 3 kills from them, and they slaughtered people on that charge. That was absolutely brutal. Using them as a hammer and anvil is just absolutely devastating. As you can see, these swordsmen right here tied up against these spearmen who won't break because of that 55 melee defense, and these dragon princes rode them down into the dirt, absolutely destroying them. Fiery Invocation going off right there momentarily, and it goes right across my griffins right here, which doesn't do too much damage because they're kind of spread out and they're only single target. Like they're very few in entity compared to these very low armor spearmen, which are very clumped up. So right here, I'm just trying to zone out his dragon princes as much as possible. But then I realize, oh shit, Boris is all tied up over here, and this Jade Wizard is actually taking a bunch of damage, and he might die. And there he goes. He gets speared right in the back of the head. His head is actually taken off by a spearman unit right there. Oh no, he's got his head still. No, he doesn't. Yeah, it got punched clean off. Boris over here is taking quite a beating, and he gets really scared because he's surrounded on all flanks, and he's got dragon princes all around him. But I pull these spearmen in to try and take up some damage, as well as put some damage onto these dragon princes, while allowing the back line to try and pull itself together. So over here, I start pulling these crossbowmen back into the engagement that have rallied, while these greatswords over here are going to get charged eventually by some dragon princes who are going to go into a very tight column formation. So I'm going to try and soak up the initial engagement of these guys before they can get to my crossbowmen with these spearmen, but it's not going to work, which is unfortunate. And the same thing's going to happen. These guys are going to run straight into these greatswords, but I'm going to realize that I'm going to position them right behind this tree, and it's actually going to stop the charge from these dragon princes, and then immediately I'm going to overwhelm the flanks of these guys with these dragon princes and a counter charge right there. As you can see over here, once again, these griffins have all been netted, and it's so sad for me seeing this. I'm like, I just need them to do their work, because over here in the front lines, these archers are going absolutely rambunctiously ham. They're just shredding apart my forces, which is unfortunate, but they're getting very low on ammo, and they're targeting very heavily armored creatures right now, which are on the move, and like I said, they're very low entity model units, so you know, that range fire isn't having a lot of concentrated mass to pile in against while they're on the move as well. It's really going to start missing a lot. And as you can see, I get 1 unit of dragon princes off, and there's 2 other ones that are very weak. This one's pretty weak. Where's another one? This one's actually not moving. I'm going to get a charge off with both of my Demigryph units over here. And it's going to do a lot of damage off the charge and get quite a few models. From here, these spearmen are not engaged. They're just sitting here looking out into the distance like, oh, what a beautiful forest. Look at the sky, the sunset. And they're like, oh shit, this forest over here is destroying our dragon princes. We need to go around. You're going to see them start being moved initially to go over here and engage these crossbowmen, and then they're going to be pulled back and then try to zone out, and they're like, okay, we didn't need to just go straight into these Demigryphs, but it's too late at this point. These guys start routing, and I pull both of my Demigryph units forward, and I start trying to pull them into these 2 units of archers, which only have 1 shot per person left. I'm getting some flanking shots in with my silver bullets over here, which are just desperate to survive. And these guys stop moving for a moment. I'm not sure why. Fiery Convocation goes off, and it's actually going to hit these white lines of trace over here. They have 26 units, 1,075 HP, does about 100 damage, kills 2 units. And then I'm going to get both these charges off on both individual units of archers, and they're immediately going to be terrified by these Royal Altdorf Gryphites, which for the first time are able to use that terror. And from here, I'm going to cycle charge these white lines of trace, which are also going to be terrified. Then from there, I soak up this charge from the spearmen with Boris, but what I should have done is charge these guys while they were charging, so they wouldn't have been braced against large, and I could have got that charge bonus off with these Demigryph Knights, and really laying into them before they could do much in return, and then pulled out. Right here, I had to turn these swordsmen to try and chase off Teclis before he can do anything against these Gryphites, because they're very, very low, and any kind of major damage coming from a Lord or anything like that will absolutely put these guys into the ground. As you can see, half the unit gone right here, half the unit gone right here, and very, very weak units, both under 1,000 HP, and instead, Teclis actually gets run off. He's on his horse, so I can't catch him on ground with swordsmen, unfortunately, so I turn them to start fighting these spearmen. I pull all my melee units into the fray against these spearmen, trying to just take them out, while my 2 Altdorf Gryphite units and these regular Demigryph Knights over here are trying to be used as much as I can to try and take out the other Dragon Princes, because I realize, alright, if I can take out the rest of his Dragon Princes by tying them up with spearmen or something like that, then countercharging them with my Griffin units, I'm absolutely going to dominate this battle, because he's not going to have anything to stop them, and Boris is so healthy that an engagement against Teclis and him is going to go in the favor of Boris, even though he's at his healing cap right there at 2445. That's all the HP we're going to get for Boris this day, but it's going to be plenty. Over here, these spearmen take the brunt of the charge versus the Dragon Princes. Are going to take some initial losses because they weren't braced properly, but they're going to immediately start countering them and start doing quite a bit of damage to them. As you can see, goes off. They lost a couple units right there. These Dragon Princes are going to charge in as well, and I bring in my Demigryph Knights and my Royal Altdorf Gryphites coming in here. They're actually going to start seizing these guys with terror. You can see the morale just being eaten away, the bar dropping so rapidly on these guys, and as soon as they take a couple more losses to their unit, they're probably going to rout due to terror, or just leadership going down so low. And then here comes Boris, so that leadership debuff hitting these guys, causing these guys to be terrified, and I immediately start chasing them with the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, because they're the only ones that, no, they're just the regular Demigryph Knights, excuse me, the Royal Altdorf Gryphites actually decided to rout off. So I'm going to try and chase these Dragon Princes while engaging against Teclis right here, but I'm like, you know what I really need to do is I need to get rid of Teclis, and this potion's almost done. I see that, and it's going to go off right now. The potion's gone, and all the damage that I start putting in against him is going to be pretty much permanent, because all of his abilities are on cooldown, and he's not going to be able to survive the damage from both Boris and the surround of these Demigryph Knights against him. And so from here, my opponent's just like, I can't really do anything. All of my swordsmen are going to be charging these spearmen over here, and they're more healthy than these guys are, and my Royal Altdorf Gryphites and my Demigryph Knights are too healthy for the combined power of all the remaining Dragon Princes, and that's going to be a win for me. Very, very atrocious fight, and a very, very good fight. Oh, man. That was such a pitch battle. That could have gone either way. I thought for sure if Boris had routed right there, that probably would have been it. I probably would not have won this game. But thankfully, his morale held in for like so long. He had like 11 leadership for the longest time, and that just really, really helped. So, damn these Dragon Princes. They're so powerful. God almighty. But we won that. You know what? The Empire saw its might come on top today, even though we had just absolutely disgusting losses. 842, 222 guys remaining, while 266 remain for the High Elves over here. But if this was campaign and these guys turned around and refought this army, I think these guys would immediately win. But I'm not sure. It really depends on what we could get out of these 2 Demigryphs. But thank God for them. 108 kills, 120, and most of those kills were against Dragon Princes, so you gotta think they did their work. And while these guys were out in the fields just slaying all these regular swordsmen, they're being rode down by the Griffins. They should have really focused on getting these guys off the field. He tried with the nets, but he just really didn't have the killing power. He lacked AP against my cavalry, and I feel like that's what really won me the day today. Like I was talking about, that the archers don't have any. They really lack AP. Like the Wood Elves, they have really high armor piercing units for their ranged components, and so does the Empire. You know, with their handgunners or the Regiment of Renown for the what are they called? The Free Company Militia. They have armor piercing missiles too. So that's really what ended up winning me today. So very good game, very good stuff. I loved that fight. That was so hard. I was sweating bullets that whole time. Oh man. So good fight to you, and good. Hopefully I see you on ladder again. Hopefully with an army of my choosing, because I hate playing the Empire, and this was rough. That was so rough. So as always, guys, if you like what you saw, go ahead and leave a like. Comment down in the comment section down below if you want to give me any other armies you'd like to see me fight against, or a certain faction against some other certain faction. Just let me know. I'll do it. Not a big deal. And as always, subscribe if you want to see more. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. So I'll catch y'all later.